Oh, did it start? No, I haven't seen anything yet. Oh, we are live. Yes. Well, that'll be great for our video editors to edit out on YouTube. Excellent. Sorry, I had a little bit of an OBS hiccup there. Welcome, everyone, though. We are here amidst one of the most insane times I would say the most insane time in Overwatch's history. We've got new heroes to talk about. We've got Overwatch League 2020 plans to talk about. A huge change coming in Stage 4 of the Overwatch League coming up. We're going to break it all down tonight on WatchHaus. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm joined by Robert Haynes, the boss man. He was waiting around a corner, and when the Sombra MP hit Duran's house, Rob was able to come out and use trance. It still got Duran, so we've just got the three of us left. The healing only got us. So
they call me Jonak.
That was a big wrinkle brain play by Rob on that one. And we're also joined by Zach, as always.
Hey.
The consistent pillar we need. But yeah, so like I said, we're gonna get into all those. We have so much to talk about tonight. There's a lot of really, really exciting stuff. Before we get to that, though, we have to do what we always do. We got to reset our watch. So, Rob, since you saved us with the Zenyatta ult there, I'll let you start us off.
DTTFT.
Hey.
A lot of teamfight tactics. Climbed to gold
Nice.
today, which was huge.
Pog.
Climbing my main account of League to gold for the first time since like season 1 or 2 as well. So
Nice.
Played a little bit this weekend thanks to, in no short part, to Connor. He talks about a busy week. This man worked his ass off, so give him all that love. But yeah, I've been working on a lot of recruitment, so if you're interested in writing about Overwatch, we are looking for people to fill in some spots and maybe just make some additions all over the place. Been working on contracts and raising money and
business
all that fun stuff.
Boring.
Running meetings and talking to people and
shaking hands,
networking,
taking care of everything,
Man.
kissing babies, dude.
God.
Just everything.
The Ricky Bobby we all deserve. Zach, what have you been up to? Hopefully not being Ricky Bobby.
Absolutely not. I don't have a company to run.
That's fair.
So I don't have to make any of those business talks. No, I've hopped back onto Overwatch. I've had some friends reach out, say they actually want to play again. So just been jumping in. Actually did my placements.
Nice.
Having fun knowing that I'm going to not have to be forced to heal or tank if I don't want to when forward people jump on DPS. So excited that that prospect is coming and actually enjoying like these little silly comps that are running before that's going to be pushed to arcade.
Nice. What did you place, by the way? I hate to. This is a personal question, so sorry to put you on the spot.
Oof. No, you're good. I hover around mid gold pretty much consistently every season.
You're in good company.
I've pushed plat once. I've dropped all the way to silver one season when I tried to be the Ana and Orisa that my team always needed.
Nice.
And then went back to my main Junkrat to make sure that I could climb back up to gold.
Dude, I also am the same way. I'm like I can't play any DPS except for Junkrat. I'm a big Jay Silly fan. Love Jay Sill, dude.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I've been doing a little bit of Overwatch as well. I've gotten back into it as well for different reasons though. So the 2019 Summer Games event's going on right now. And I'm a big Lucio Ball fan. So I'm not good at Rocket League, which it's like a carbon copy of, but I just understand Lucio Ball for some reason, and I've played soccer my entire life, so I'm a huge soccer fan, just love it. So I've been grinding Copa Lucio Ball on my console and my PC account. I'm in Diamond in both, and I'm almost to Masters on PC, so I'm like super stoked for that. I'm not good at Overwatch.
Hard flex.
Not good at Overwatch. I am very like gold centered on my actual account, like my competitive ranked ladder, but all that to say. Then yeah, like Rob said, it was a super busy week last week. For those who don't know, like we broke news right at the same time as basically ESPN and the Washington Post. I think Dottie Sports was the only other site, so I think it was the four of us that had the news out about Overwatch League 2020. We actually had it out like right before they did even, so it was a really cool moment just for me as a writer, like for the company. It was just awesome. Like it was a really exciting, stressful, but exciting time. And then, like Rob said, it's been busy. We've had this has been an insane week. We've had Overwatch League 2020 news. Then teams slowly releasing information about their homestands. Then a conference call gets leaked and some scheduling information is revealed. Then no teams talk to anyone. Mysteriously, why? Interesting. And then like Sigma gets leaked by Team Mexico. Like, what the heck? Then we're on Sigma Watch 2019 and everyone's like, was it real? Was it fake? Are all these images fake? And we're trying to decipher it as writers and like piece together his kit. And Duran like wrote up this fabulous piece with very five-head brain level, trying to like guess what it was with physics and numbers, and I had no idea what he was saying in any of it, but it was interesting. It was fascinating. Philosophy major does not help me with physics at all, as it turns out. And then so we're gonna get into more of that stuff more in detail, but it's just been like a flurry of covering all that and busy, but it's been fun. So let's jump into our first major segment, though. We have to talk about it first thing. We can't... I mean, it was released today, the origin story for Sigma. If you haven't got a chance to watch it, I would absolutely, after the show, go tune in. It's only like a 2 or 3 minute thing. But it's gripping. I mean, it's tense. I think it sets up a really good plot line for Sigma. It hints at his abilities a little bit and gives a little bit of his backstory. So, because we still don't know much about him, I'm assuming we're going to know his abilities and skins tomorrow when he goes on the PTR, is what I'm assuming. But until then...
He gets PTR tomorrow?
I think so. I would guess so. I bet they drop it all tomorrow.
Because it's normally the day after they release the video or the day of. It's never like a week later, I feel like. Yeah. I mean, maybe I missed...
They've been doing every announcement in the last, like, every 24 hours they've done something, so...
Yeah, they don't want to lose the hype too. So like, if you got a patch coming out on Tuesday, you've had 3 straight days of Sigma stuff come out. Technically 4, so you don't want to miss tomorrow. Like they have to make it tomorrow.
The only way they couldn't is if they have more lore tomorrow, like another lore video, and then you release him. But I would think he's got to come out tomorrow. But
they could still release it with a lore video.
That's true. That's true.
Or they could really surprise us and announce Hero 32.
That would be great.
Coming next week.
I would love that. I've been hoping for that curveball for so long, but
they're never going to do it.
They're never going to do it.
I love Jeff Kaplan. He's one of my favorite people. They're never going to do it.
They'll never do it. So, all that to say, because we don't know much yet about Sigma, we each have our kind of wish list, our Sigma wish list that we're going to rattle off to you. Like we're writing letters to Santa, we're writing letters to Sigma, or the developers, Jeff Kaplan. He sits by a fireplace during Christmas, so he's basically Santa to us. He gives us all of our gifts and our goodies. So we have our wish list for certain abilities and things. We're going to kind of go off the cuff on how we do this. I think we'll just kind of go person by person and maybe talk about things as people bring them up. Zach, you have a lot of really good stuff in the Google Doc, so I'm going to let you go first. So what are you hoping to see out of Sigma?
So obviously, I think a lot of people really hope that he is a tank. I am on that same vein. I'm almost positive he will be. I hope that he's a nice off tank, and I want him to be really, really mobile. Like I want him to be able to use like gravity because that's what was like he talked about in all his lore video. I want him to be able to get places like kind of think Baptiste's jump, like how you have to like crouch down and then like you can jump really high, but like make that easier or like a lot quicker. Like let him get up to high places, like maybe with a wall climb, like Lucio or Hanzo or Genji. Like let him kind of like bend gravity to his will to help himself to get places, because I think that like I mean you've got Diva who can fly all over the place, like that's whatever, and then you have the Hog who just kind of putzes around. So I think it would be a nice kind of middle of the road mobility, but would take some skill to really get his mobility, like kind of like how Lucio wall ride takes some skill to do it right. I think if you got some sort of mechanic to make him a really mobile off tank, that would be really interesting.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, and I think one of the interesting things to point out, so I think it's gonna have something to do with gravity as well in some capacity. So you were kind of saying that you think he will bend gravity to his advantage. I'm just curious what the gravity aspect is. I think it's up for debate. Like, is it going to be gravity as it pertains to his direct area, or is it like can he select a target area and like shoot people upward like a bunker? Can he like go anti-gravity for them? That's a super interesting thing to talk about. I really don't know what it's going to be though. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think he looks like. I mean, obviously that trailer made him look like a villain and made him look like more of one with a relatable backstory, but still a villain nonetheless. That I think
he's with Talon, right? Didn't they confirm
he's with Talon? Yeah. Confirmed.
So
Well,
I don't
they
know.
showed him with Moira and Widowmaker and
Yeah.
Sombra.
They showed it with all the talent people.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
even you can see the shoulder of
Doomfist.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think that it could be a combination of both. It could be being able to help himself and also hurt enemies. I think you got some sort of thing you could do where maybe do it like a Hammond, how he can ground pound and launch everyone in the air,
Yeah.
but make it more precise, make it more like on one person or a targeted area, and make it so they go up or make them go sideways or something like that. That have different abilities that can move them in different
Very
directions.
interesting.
Yeah.
So,
I also love the suggestion from chat right now. Rather than a shield, he sucks in projectiles with a black hole. I would love to see.
I said that.
Rob, I was going to say, this is what you were saying earlier. So, do you want to elaborate on that point?
Brain cell today, dude.
Yeah.
I was saying a la Doctor Strange, right?
Mm.
Like he literally. So all of my theories are based on black hole. By the way, I know I didn't get a chance to write them down, but all my theories are based on a black hole. My first one was he can put like what's a shield, almost like a diva, but take in all the projectiles and shoot them back out.
Yeah.
Which would
So like Genji's reflect, but like more precise because he could like, yeah.
Yes, it would literally be a combo of a diva shield with a Genji reflect.
Dang.
That would be like if that was his ult, dude. Can you imagine how game changing that would be if you just walk in front of people with that?
Yeah, it's very true.
That would be insane. My other thing is actually based off a game called Smite. I don't know if anybody's really played it. I know people know it, but it's a pretty good game actually. By the way, people should check it out. Definitely doesn't get the credit it deserves, but it's based off of gods, and there's a god named Janos, and Janos actually he's the time and space guy or god, and he's got two really cool abilities. One of them is his ultimate, where he can shoot this projectile and it goes through walls, basically.
Oh, wow.
And then you can teleport or walk through them. So it'd be like almost a better Symmetra. And then he also has one, back to what you were talking about, Connor, or maybe Zach, I don't remember, but there was the falling part. So there's another one where he puts a circle under people, they fall through, and they come back out of the top.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
Ooh.
And I think for bunker,
Like
if
a
you make
portal
that a
gun.
stun or a lot of damage,
portal
right?
guns,
Like that would be huge.
Yeah.
So, I think the black hole aspect is, I think, because he even talks about a black hole,
Right.
in the
That's
trailer.
what
I
he's
think
trying to
there's
figure out is
something to do with it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he unlocked it in some way, and like the shoulder pads that everybody's making fun of. There's those apparatuses that are on the sides, like there, and I think that enhances his abilities.
Yeah.
So
I would love that.
we'll see. Those were my big ones.
I like it. My predictions. So I linked two of Ethan. He's a writer here at the Game Haus. He put out a good theory about like his origin. So I'll talk about that a little bit first. I think that he is kind of like not a descendant of Moira, but that Moira was kind of the one leading the operation and has kind of put him back into society. He tweets about how they stand really similar. He looks like he uses a gold and a purple ball. Looks eerily similar to how we see Moira in the game. Those two things are shown in those tweets there. But as far as abilities go, I would love to see. So there was a patch update. It was a very small part of it, but it talked about how when enemies are moving slowly, their motion's a little bit smoother now. And so that led me to possibly think that his ultimate could be a thing that slows down time for the enemy team, but that his team moves in regular speed. To like totally disadvantage another team, slow down their movements, and give you, even if it's just like 2 or 3 seconds, it would be a really quick, like you could all reposition or just rain in a bunch of fire or whatever, but something to do with slowing down time I think would be really cool. I don't know where that would be on his kit. Like I don't really have a good like idea of how that's visible, but I think that could be his ultimate. It would be very good if he could do it. So other than that, he talks about how, I think a quote is like, gravity is a harness and I've built a harness for the harness. So like he's found a way to control gravity, which also controls people. So he's got to do something with anti-gravity. I mean, we have like the low gravity arcade mode, So he could like do a thing where part of like he makes the enemy team, instead of being slow, maybe he just makes them all low on low gravity and they all are just flying around. Or maybe his team can do that. I don't really know. But I could see something to do with that like low gravity setting that's already in the game because they already have the mechanic built in. So I don't know though. It is a tough one. I do like I'm seeing in chat the portal gun idea or something to do with the black hole. Anything if they put a portal in the game, like some kind of portal system, I think it would be super entertaining, honestly. And then on Total Mayhem, you could just spam the portals and like have a constant loop of just like falling in and out. That alone would just be worth the memes. So overall, though, I'm really excited to see what drops tomorrow. I don't know.
I think he can finally be that hero be the hero we all needed for the game. Because it sounds like he could be somebody who could really affect, even if Goats was still around, Goats, right?
Yeah,
or, be the breaker of a lot of things. Because I think so much depends on D.Va right now that if they do make him an off tank and they do a good job with his abilities and not make him too overpowered, but useful in as many situations that D.Va might be, you could see people swapping in and off of them, and it could really change the game, man. I'm praying that he isn't another Baptiste or another Ashe where it's good. We need heroes that I think I've said this on this show even a million times. We need heroes that just aren't that good. That's okay.
Yeah.
That the game needs that. It just needs more heroes in general. And I'm hoping that this guy, I doubt they're going to have him for stage 4. I would say it's almost impossible at this point.
Almost
World Cup probably.
Yeah.
So, I think if they can release him very soon, we'll see him for World Cup, and he could be game-changing. Literally game-changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
he's a lot more interesting than the other two.
And like you were saying, Rob, I think, Zach, you touched on this too. Like, I hope he is an off-tank, but more of like an offensive and mobile tank, like almost like a tank DPS hybrid, kind of like Mei. You think of like a heavier, like a larger HP pool, but still like a tank and functionality. Now the role of whatever he is very important because of the roll lock. We'll get into that more here in a little bit. But
actually, wait. Now you say Mei. If he was a slowing, oh my god, can you imagine Mei ult plus whatever his ult is, if it is slowing?
You just have
your team would literally, can you imagine the stall tactics, dude?
Yeah.
Your team could literally never leave spawn with both of those going at the same time.
Yeah. So I'm so excited for tomorrow. Whenever they release it, this will be really exciting to dig into. And the PTRs have been like very exciting lately. I think a lot of people have been playing it in a very different way that they have been in the past. So usually the PTR, you like hop on for a game or two, test out the patches, then you bounce out. But right now, people are jumping on the PTR and doing 15 games to get all their placements in. So the data they are getting from all of this is going to be huge. I think it's only going to increase when he jumps on there as well. So I think they're going to have a lot of more data behind him than any other hero they've ever tested. So I'm very excited for that.
Makes me wish I had a computer fast enough to run the PTR.
Yeah.
AKA not a Mac.
That's fair. That leads us to kind of into our next topic, though. We're looking at one of the big things that happened this past week is they announced role queue in competitive, like in the game. It's where you queue up as a role. You have an SR based on your role, whether you're support, damage, or tank. And they announced that there's going to be a 2-2-2 lock. They're going to be locked in 2 support, 2 tank, and 2 damage for the Overwatch League, coming in Stage 4. Excuse me. Players have known about this since, I think, the end of Stage 2 or maybe the beginning of Stage 3. Supers confirmed that on stream in kind of a memey way, but players have told us as well, and coaches have told us that. So people have had time to prepare for it, but it is going to be a huge change to the league. There's going to be some winners and losers. We've talked about that on this show in previous weeks, what teams we think are going to do better or worse. So instead of doing that and running through a list or anything, we just kind of wanted to give you guys a forecast, as the meteorologists that we are here on WatchHaus, of some things that the 2-2-2 roll lock might bring to the Overwatch League. Surprises, either at a macro or micro level, just things we think that this big change could affect the Overwatch League, what it could affect the Overwatch League like in terms of. So we're going to jump right into these. Zach, I'm going to let you start off again. What are some things you think that 2-2-2 lock are going to do to the Overwatch League?
I think that if they weren't already the play-in playoffs that's going to happen at the end of Stage 4, for those last 2 spots are going to be the most interesting Overwatch that we probably will see all season, if not if we've seen it all of competitive. I think that like you've got these teams that are all so close in the standings vying for 2 spots, and this now just allows teams that may have been hindered by trying to run 3-3 or trying to use their tactics to defeat 3-3, they'll be able to go back to kind of some of the basics or some of the old compositions that they can maybe revisit. And I think it's just going to be super interesting to see. I think we're also going to just see a lot of highlight reel kind of clips.
Yeah.
I mean, we see those occasionally in GOATs where it's like, oh, someone got a really big shatter. Oh, someone actually got a diva bomb off. Oh, a Lucio got an environmental kill. But like that's kind of the extent of it.
Yeah.
I think now you're going to have players popping off, especially DPS players. Like you're going to see a Genji Blade that gets 5K. You're going to see a Widow just shoot 3 headshots right in a row.
Yeah.
Like it's the highlight reels are going to be more interesting. They're going to be more
Yeah.
diverse. They're going to be a lot wider. And so just more to pick from.
Yeah,
and so I think that's going to help increase viewership because you'll just be able to put these Twitch clips up real quick and be like, look at the stuff that's happening. You want to see this.
It's very true. I'll jump in on this really quick. I think that, I mean, when you look at Season 1 of the Overwatch League, like, what are the clips that we watch? You watch Pine on Ilios when Doe is yelling Big Boss Pine for the first time. You watch Pine flanking on Junkertown and doing when Monty's like, not many Widows would go for this flank, you know. They're like historic clips, but none of them are of a Reinhardt getting bubbled and going into a fight and swinging his hammer. Like, come on.
And we're going to see Tracer go in and get 5 kills like he did in the grand finals.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why, like, there was one game this season where Erster played Tracer and got like a 6K, and they played that clip as many times as you could possibly play it because it's all they had. Like, it's all we've been, it's all we've had to watch. And like, you know, stage 1 had the boot bomb combos, and those were semi-entertaining. But stages 2 and 3 were really like no big plays, very like tight matches, tight fights. So,
and you're gonna know that because you were trying to put together top 10 lists.
Yeah,
and that was nigh impossible.
It was fun during stage 1, and it got really unfun in stage 2 to the point where I quit doing it because they were just not like 10 interesting plays. They didn't happen. So
I think it's also going to be nice for fans who aren't as invested. People who are like, oh, this is GOATs. This is why GOATs is interesting. You're going to get more of the casual fans like, oh, I've heard of Overwatch. Oh, I play Overwatch sometimes. It's like, oh, these are the heroes I'm used to seeing, not the 3-3 comp of like, here's this, and it has to be an insane team fight, and whoever loses the first person is most likely going to lose. Like, you're gonna allow players to be able to carry at times. And that's going to bring in people because it's going to while we as people who study the Overwatch League and study Overwatch and see it day in day out and write about it, like are able to see the intricacies of GOATs and see why it works and why the meta has stuck for so long. People aren't always going to understand that, and so if you've got this more on the surface level exciting play of DPS, someone just like ripping a Hanzo arrow through a wall and getting 3 people, like that's going to be more exciting for a casual fan.
I could not agree more.
We're going to be basically going from playing chess to, I don't know,
a monster truck rally.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be smashing. I don't remember what everybody used to call it. I think it's an offensive name now, but it was like where everybody would just try to tackle one person. Do you guys remember that game when you were kids?
I don't know.
We had it here in Ohio, and we used to just get real bored.
Throwing rocks at trains and tackling each other.
Yeah, but I think, in all seriousness, I think that there are good and bad things about Warlock. And I think we've talked about the good ones, and I will agree. I think it's going to be a lot more interesting to watch. I think the viewership is probably going to go up. You're going to finally see stars. You know, like not seeing stars like you got punched in the face, but like you're going to see like the real stars coming out, right? Like, and it sounds bad because it's not fair to the supports and the, tanks that have been doing it all year long. I think that if this influences the MVP vote as much as it might, I'm actually gonna be really upset because I'm gonna definitely like if we get a vote, which I'm hoping we will. Blizzard, come on now, we're your friends, I promise. Riot already gave us a vote. You need to give us one. Anyways, calling them out now. Sorry, Kevin. Anyways, so if we can get a vote, I'm gonna vote for a tank. I'm gonna fight really hard that our vote is for a tank or support. I don't care which one, but I think that they've been instrumental. And even if it's like a Sinatra,
I was gonna say,
that's different. Yeah. But like, I think the bad thing is, and I wish games would learn this, because the Riot's the same way. I don't think Dota or CS:GO are, but specifically Riot and Blizzard have a really bad problem of changing the game right at the end.
Yeah.
And it's not, and again, just for Overwatch League fans, just so you know, you can feel at least a little bit of solace in this. Riot does it too, every year. And I get it. They're doing it for the general fan base, not for their esport. But at the same time, you gotta make your esport, like, that loses interest for people. Like, I'm sorry, it was great that London and Philadelphia made the runs that they did. That was super fun. But if you're gonna tell me right now that like a 7th or an 8th place team, even somebody who barely makes the play-ins, ends up winning this year, and it's not just because they figured it out, but it's because the meta change, that is going to hurt your viewership for next season more than anything. I literally guarantee. I don't care who it is. Even if it's Shanghai that does this, everybody's going to be like, redemption arc, great stuff. Yes, I agree. But then we're going to sit down in the offseason, and we're like, wasn't Vancouver?
How did Vancouver not win or something like that? I get what you're saying. I completely agree.
Shock, I mean,
that's why I was originally against this 2-2-2 roll-lock thing, because it just came in the middle of the season. Until I kept hearing all these reports that they asked the teams about it, they went to the teams first, and players and teams all seemed to rally behind it.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, that's one of the biggest things, is that, like, they're the ones playing this, and at any point could just walk off and say, no, this is boring, we don't want to do this anymore. Not that they would. I'm just saying, they need to be the ones that are taken care of here. And as much as that, I agree with you that, like, if a team does just, like, from 7th place pull off a win on this whole thing, it's going to seem like a little asterisk is going to be near their name.
Yeah.
But,
well, and again, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have done it. My argument is, why the hell did you do it during stage 3?
Yeah.
Like, I'm this close to just going on a full-on tirade, like, cuss-filled rant on it, because it is just so infuriating for us to be able to discuss this and even have to think about it as this is going to affect the league forever.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you create a league, the most important things are your champions. Nobody's going to go back and remember that's San Francisco. 5 years from now, people may talk about it, but nobody's going to be like, dude, remember when San Francisco won stage 2? No.
Right.
They're going to talk about the firsts and the lasts, right? They're going to talk about Titans winning their first one. That may bring up San Francisco, and they're going to talk about Shanghai winning the last one.
Yeah.
Right? And then they're going to talk about who won the league championship. And that, to me, is paramount. And they got to make sure that these teams that have been playing so well all season don't get screwed. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be biased. Like,
right.
I'm actually technically a Lone Spitfire fan. They've been up and down, and I think they're actually going to get a huge buff from 2-2-2, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
And they could win it all.
Massive.
And I'm going to be hyped. But I'm also going to be like, Blizzard, what's going on? They were not good enough to win this all season long. So
the way I'm kind of thinking of it is, for me, it's like a two-sided coin, right? So, I mean, GOATS effectively has killed viewership in not like a major way, not like a way that the esport's in danger, but Twitch numbers have gone down by about half, if we're being honest.
Let's be honest, it has killed streamers.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, for sure. For sure.
Thing in this game,
for
in
sure.
any game.
Yes. So that's the one side of it. Is it's almost like you got to do something. The fire alarm sounding. You can't just wait it out until the end of the fire. You got to put it out. So I get doing something drastic, and they've been working on roll queue and 2-2-2 for over a year. Jeff said so. This has been something that has been on their minds for a long time. I don't think it was a thing though. Where I think what probably happened was they got to the end of stage 2. The mid season would have been a great time to release this. It's your middle of your season. You play the first half of the season on one patch, second half of the season in playoffs on the other patch. Then you get a pretty accurate representation of who the best team really is at the end, or at least for a lot of the season. So, I think that something must have happened where stage 2 and 3 just did not go the way they planned. They're getting calls from investors about numbers, or like something drastic had to be done. And I'm assuming the league's hands were tied a little bit on making that decision. Again, I don't know. This isn't like juice or anything, but the way I'm seeing it is like it destroys the competitive integrity of the league to me. And it is very severe. Me and Zach were actually both against this when we talked that one episode. We were both like, I don't know that roll queue is the answer. Hate goats, but still. So it kills competitive integrity. We're probably going to have a team that has been less than the best all season long, at least make it to the finals, I would predict. Maybe not win, but like one of those underdog teams will make a playoff run. It's going to happen. That's going to be unfortunate to watch. At the same time, like this is such a foundational change for Overwatch. So like this is the biggest change since they made it to where you could only play one of each hero. So in the grand scheme of the history of the esport, if this is going to be an esport that lasts 20, 50 years, this will probably be something that gets forgotten. That people aren't going to remember.
And it's also such a young esport. Like,
yes.
Like esports themselves are young, and this is only the second year of this league.
Yeah, exactly.
And this game's only been out since 2016.
Yeah.
So we've had 3 years of the game Overwatch. You look at any other, compare it to traditional sports who have had leagues around since forever.
Yeah.
Like you've got teams celebrating 100 years,
yeah.
And there are monumental changes in those sports. You look at hockey, the amount of padding and helmets that they have to wear, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you have to, like, there are going to be times where maybe a season is kind of tainted a little bit, and some may hold it against them. Like my first example is the 2013 Blackhawks winning the Stanley Cup Finals. There was a lockout at the beginning of the season, so they played a lot less regular season games. Every team played a lot less regular season games than a typical NHL season. And the Blackhawks were able to win the Stanley Cup 3 times in 5 years, but who's counting? But like some people may look at that and say there was a fundamental change that happened. But I don't know many people who are saying like, oh, I can't believe in 2013, like, these players had to play 25% less games. Yeah. And so I think that we're in a relatively uncharted territory of esports being new, but I also think that like because we're so young and so fresh into the concept of esports, this really won't be as big of a deal as it seems right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think that you've made an incredible point, honestly, Zach, because I do think that like the goal, people got to remember, I think when we talk about Overwatch, everybody considers it this well-established titan, right? And we all want it to be that, okay? And I'm here to explain this to you from my perspective and the business sides of things that I've learned. I think that's where I'm usually able to come on to some of these shows and be able to add a little bit extra. I've talked to a lot of people. Connor's been privy to at least one of these conversations. And the biggest question right now is ROI. What is the return on investments for these investors? And this is, I know I was talking like I was against 222. I'm playing devil's advocate there. But I think what Zach is trying to say here, their return on investment, if the Overwatch League promised them anything other than at least 10 years, then Nick Nanzer needs to be put in jail, probably, and most of the Blizzard
staff.
Put
him in Brig jail.
Yes. Worse than
Even
that.
Worse
Whatever
than
ends
jail.
up being the next Brig jail, if there is one. I don't know that there will be. But, the thing is like, we've had, and I guess I have an extra point to add on to this, but you got to make your investors happy. In this league, the health of this league, what matters is that it's growing. And right now it's not. Right now it's stagnant. The whole game is stagnant, in my opinion. honest to God, I haven't picked up Overwatch in like 3 months. I'm going to now. for sure. With Rollock coming, Sigma looks badass. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And Blizzard has put out all this stuff because they want to get people excited again. They want to get people to go watch Season 4. And we saw it last year, to be fair, too. Even when we didn't have this unbelievable amount of boring games getting played. Like, people forget. Stage 2 and 3 had a huge drop in viewership. It's always Stage 1 and it's always Stage 4.
Right.
That's probably why they're
Naturally.
getting rid of stages, which I'm sure we're going to talk about here momentarily.
Yeah.
So they're making these changes because they have to. And it is going to mess with the integrity of the game. It's like, for me, it's like baseball's juicing the baseballs right now. I mean, it's literally almost a known fact at this point. And it is going to affect the integrity of that game. Like, I mean, I think the Yankees are going to probably end up winning the World Series. Everybody's going to put an asterisk next to it. They just literally got every single person that can hit the ball as hard as they possibly can on this team right now. Like, that's literally all their team is there for. And what I'm hoping is that all these teams spent all of Stage 3 just preparing for 2-2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
I think that's the case.
Because if that is the case, then we're going to see really good Overwatch again.
Yeah.
And people are going to get excited, and people are going to come back. People are going to go to their hometown games when they have them, when the teams are in town, right? Like, they've got to prep for Season 3.
Yeah.
That is the make it or break it season for
Yes.
Overwatch.
Yes.
And so I think this is the change. And I want to remind people, my last thing here is, let's not forget how broken Mercy was forever too.
The max
right?
res.
Like, yeah, like max resing, and they're still trying to figure out what works best with this esport, right? And we all complained about Brig. I remember when she first came out, everybody loved her. There was so much fan art about her, I couldn't even stand it on Reddit at this point. Right, and now everybody's pretty much just like kill her, literally kill her. So,
except for me, because I just realized I can play Brig, and so now I've actually been enjoying it really.
She's
I love
really
playing
good in
it.
gold, by the way. She is lit in gold.
I think she's an absolute blast. So what I want to say is, for Overwatch fans, for any of you who watch live or who watch later, there's gonna be another hero like this.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we don't already complain about Diva, or that we don't complain about Lucio right now, like, it's just not enough heroes in the game. So it's just going to happen, and we got to just live with it. We can't blame one hero. We can't blame one strat. We just got to understand this is our game, and we got to support it.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to get you through Stage 3, and these changes are what they're learning from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with... Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, I was just going to say that, like, I think that one of the things with esports is that it's just more kind of blatant and obvious and more on the nose when changes are made to the way that things play. Like, you look at basketball, you look 10, 20 years ago, it was super physical. It was like, let's drive it to the hoop, all that stuff. Now you've got all the best players in the league are 3-point shooters. They
added the 3-point line in the 70s. People forget that.
Exactly. And you also, but like, you look, even just like now, like, you look at the dominance of Steph Curry. One of the reasons he became so dominant is because he can shoot it from beyond where the normal 3-point is made. And so you look at that, and the league adapted. The players changed their strategy. I think with esports, it's just a lot more on the nose. It's like, oh, we're literally patching something in the game to change things up.
Yeah. It's more hands-on.
And I also think, to a point that Rob made a lot earlier about the MVP race that I had forgotten about and just wanted to say, I think that I wouldn't be shocked if a DPS player does take it. I hope they don't as well, like you've been saying. But I mean, that's the case in any league you're looking at. It's the person who's the flashiest, who makes the biggest plays. Like, you look at whoever's going to win an MVP award in soccer or hockey. It's going to be whoever puts the most goals in, gets the most assists, does the most to. It's not going to be the person who blocks the most shots.
It's not the offensive lineman.
Exactly.
Like,
I was going to make the same point earlier.
It's not the right back. It's not someone who's going to be making the crunching tackles every week.
Yep.
It's not going to be the person who has the most interceptions. Like, that's just not how anything works, because people want to see action. People want to see, and people do love those defensive moments, but people consistently would like to see offensive action, and DPS players are that.
My only argument.
I agree with
my only argument with that is, there's been 3/4 of the season of it just being the offensive linemen or the goalies.
Mm-hmm. So we
have to take that into consideration.
As a goalie,
this makes it obvious to me that Sinatra's going to win. Like, how does Sinatra not win in the conversation that we're talking about? Sinatra he's played the highest damage character all season long in Zarya, who's a tank, but that doesn't really matter. He's been the flashiest player all season. He's going to shift to DPS, still play for the shock, presumably, and pop off.
I think the only way he doesn't win it is if he doesn't play stage 4.
Yes.
Because they want to run striker.
Yes. There's a chance. There's a valid chance.
That is a chance. And so I think that's the only reason, logically, that Sinatra doesn't win it as an American player and as the person who is doing the most damage.
If he gets benched, he doesn't win it. There's no way.
Jonak won it last year. I think Zenyatta has a really good chance to win it.
Twilight is the other front runner besides Super. So,
But again, you look, that's the person dealing a ton of damage. It's the person clicking heads. It's the person making picks.
Yeah, exactly.
The one who's doing the offensive work. And so I think that is going to be, whoever's the MVP is going to have to be the one who does that, who carries their team and is the reason, when you think New York, you think Jonak.
Yeah.
The terms are kind of just interchangeable at this point.
Pretty much.
They have to be that.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I think like we said, Sinatra, if he plays, definitely front runner. Twilight, and otherwise you'll probably see a main tank or something win it, like a super or
Bumper.
Maybe Bumper if he steps up a little bit.
Bad.
But yeah, I was going to make a point earlier to respond to what you said, Rob. I think that even if teams have had all stage 3, this is way off point from what we were talking about, so sorry, but even if teams have had all stage 3 to prepare for the roll log, I still think it's going to be shambly and unbelievably chaotic in stage 4. So what I think this does is I think it still sets us up for season 3. Overwatch League has to me made it pretty clear that seasons 1 or 2 are experimental. They're basically 2 preseasons. We're playing them in the Blizzard Arena in front of 500 fans, 100 of which are the same fans every week. So it's pretty low stakes. Who cares if it kind of sucks? We're going for season 3 when we go to the home markets, and for Vancouver are going to be playing in front of 18,000 fans. So there is, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. We'll jump on that. But so what I'm trying to say is, even if it's shambly in stage 4, it doesn't really matter. They'll be semi-clean by the playoffs. No one's going to notice it's shambly. The average viewer is not going to notice that it's shambly. All that shambly means in Overwatch League is that bigger plays are going to happen. So it's going to look even cooler. It's just going to mean that a DPS pops off on characters that are out of position. That's all that shambly really means at the pro level. So again, I don't think it's going to be clean. I think teams have definitely been preparing, which is why San Francisco dropped off. Other teams just looked less proficient on goats. I think the only team that didn't were the Dragons, because they knew that they're going to start losing. I think they're going to get a lot worse from this change. And they just wanted to get as many wins as they could and just maximize stage 3 to give themselves a better chance to make playoffs.
They did just pick up Izayaki.
True, and I think
I mean, they saw their opportunity and they capitalized.
I think it was smart.
You've got absolutely.
Totally.
They know that realistically they had a much better shot of winning a stage playoff than winning in the season playoffs, and so they invested all of their resources heavily into that. And I think that was an extremely smart move from a team that went from very bottom of the pack to a team that this year has been pretty middle of the pack, upper side of the middle of the pack, in that kind of top spot. So.
But to be fair, they did run a lot of DPS.
They ran 3 DPS.
They ran 3 DPS.
So
that's their problem almost.
I think Shanghai is gonna surprise us.
I think they'll be good. I think they'll be good.
I think they could win the whole damn thing. I really do.
Maybe.
I think they showed us a lot. I think they're 2 DPS characters. Sorry, last off-topic thing for me, I guess.
Yeah.
I think they're 2 DPS. I think they're going to be insane.
Well, they're going to go
especially if they cycle Young Jin a little bit.
Still there. You have Izayaki. You still got Luffy there.
Luffy, Koma. Then you have Gigery and Envy going to be both playing an off-tank, rotating probably.
That team is going to be real. I'm telling you right now, do not sleep on that team.
It's true. It's very true. We've talked about this a lot. I think we could obviously, there's so much to discuss. There's so much speculation to happen. We do need to get to the news, which is going to prompt some discussion of its own, but we do need to cover that in the last 15 minutes because it did happen this past week. There's been a lot that's happened. So we're going to talk about the news that we haven't talked about yet. Okay. So biggest thing, not the biggest thing, most recent thing today. It was announced that we are doing a Overwatch League picks now. It's basically a fantasy pick'em game that's in beta for the Overwatch League. And when you're on the Overwatch League Twitch channel, watching games, you will be able to do like a drop-down menu. It looks like pick who you think is going to win each game, and then you get tokens based on picks that you get correctly. And I think you get like 25 tokens at certain milestones for picking games correctly. So this is Overwatch League's first foray into fantasy, officially, like Blizzard branded Overwatch League Fantasy, which to me is a really big deal. It's a small step, and it's just pick'ems, which is good. But this does a few things, and I think let's talk about this a little bit. So, Theory 1, it drives in a lot of viewership because people are going to want tokens. People like skins in this game. Apparently, that's a pretty big motivator for people. So, as we've learned here at the Game Haus through various reasons. So, you go in and you can just go into the pre-show, click your things, and then you can even just bounce out. But at least you're tuning in. They can probably say you're a viewer at that point. They can add you into their numbers. Yeah. And so that's all that does a lot just by itself. And then secondly, this is Blizzard branded fantasy. Nanzer was very open about the fact that Overwatch League Fantasy is coming. They said it was going to come for Season 2. That was a long time ago. Obviously not happening. Maybe this is what he meant. I don't know. But what do you guys think about those two kind of facets, the viewership piece and then the fantasy piece?
I think viewership piece, it's great. It's driving clicks. It's people like skins, yes, and people also like to be right about things. People like bragging rights. They'd be like, I totally picked that game.
True.
And they get a milestone for doing that correct. It's simple reward mechanics. It's you try it, you get like it's a Skinner box. It's you click, you're going to want to click again. And when it comes to fantasy, yes, please. I've been for the past 2 seasons been like trying to do whatever fantasies out there. Like Winston's Lab just completely fell apart, totally in shambles. And at this point of the season and this point last year, either people weren't paying attention to her or it just like wasn't working. And so I think that having a Blizzard branded one, or one that's on a site that has had fantasy sports in the past, a la an ESPN, I think is a huge step in getting people involved and getting people invested. I mean, like, I know, like, if I've been saying for a while now, like, if ESPN really wants to capitalize on these esports fans, get a fantasy league. Like, you have all of the data, you have all the you already have the layout. You just need to plug the numbers in, and you've got a lot of people that would sign up.
Blizzard would have to open up their stats, though. I will say that's the Achilles heel of that. Is Blizzard is arms clenched with the stats.
Would actually have to give a real shit about.
But I think it's a great point, Zach. I think you're absolutely right. I'm just saying.
And so Blizzard can do that themselves.
Yeah.
By the way, they haven't done League of Legends yet, and League of Legends had its own one. ESPN still hasn't done it. So do not hold your breath for ESPN.
I'm not holding my breath. I'm just saying that they're missing out on a huge
I totally agree. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
But it's ESPN, so they'll jump on the trend after a couple years of it being popped.
Yeah. Rob, what do you think?
I think there's one thing that fantasy does. There's a lot of things, but I think the number one thing that fantasy does is it makes you give a shit about other things that you normally wouldn't care about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's how it is for me. Listen,
totally.
I love the NFL. I love it. It's so much fun. I love my Bengals specifically. But the only reason that I care about half the games that are getting played when it's like used to be the Browns and the Dolphins, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
If I had Jarvis Landry, I wanted to watch Jarvis Landry do work.
Yeah.
And people don't understand, like, that is a huge driving factor.
Huge.
And as bad as it sounds, they're playing on people's gambling addictions. I'm sorry.
It's true.
But that is an actual, like, people just get the high. They get addicted to winning, right?
Yeah.
And that's why pick'ems do well. That's why, all these things do so well. Like, you got to understand, it is going to fundamentally change the game when they come out with fantasy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Overwatch League will have a huge amount. And I actually think the reason they didn't come out with this year, I think it's done. I think GOATs.
They were probably waiting for
I
222.
think they were waiting. If they've been waiting for 222, if they've truly been working on it for a year, if I went to Jeff and they're like, hey, is it going to be ready in time for us to roll out this fantasy and make it actually worth something?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Like, Connor and I have been feeling that.
Yeah.
really hard. It has been almost impossible, literally almost impossible to play. So,
Yes.
I think it fundamentally changes that.
Yeah.
I think it also brings in a lot of money
Yes.
in general. Like the MLB, the NFL, they're all starting to work with Vegas now, man. Gambling has been accepted in the United States. It's only a matter of time before somebody comes to Congress and says, hey, we got to do esports gambling now, too. You got to make that, it's not technically against the law right now, but it's not technically not against the law. So they're going to bring that, too, and you will start seeing games in Vegas. People will 100 one of the biggest things in CS:GO is gambling.
Yeah.
Over in Europe. I mean, it is pretty much what drives almost that entire esport right now. And you bring that into Overwatch, you bring in the home games, man. You figure out a way to make it work. I mean, if they can get all their ducks in a row, dude, fantasy could quite literally save the entire esport. Not that it needs saving, but like
certainly
give it the boost that it needs.
You go from 100,000 viewers to 300,000 like that with fantasy.
Yeah,
and it's also a good way to introduce someone to a league. Like, it's a way to say, like, hey, here are the people that are performing consistently well on all the teams. Yeah. Here's a way to get names. Like, I know that, like, I mean, when I first started, like, playing Madden, I knew many, many, many more names of people just because I was playing and their names are just around. Or as soon as I started doing fantasy, I'm like, oh, this guy who plays on that team who got me this amount of points this week.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's a good way to introduce new people who, like, don't even have to understand the game fully.
God,
like,
you are.
I'll get my dad
is preaching
involved in an
what
Overwatch League, like, fantasy thing.
I've been wanting this. I think my third or fourth piece ever with the Game Haus a year ago was about how Blizzard needs its own fantasy app, and it would be huge if it did. I made all these points you guys made. The only reason I watch the NFL is for fantasy. I honestly don't really enjoy the games. I just watch to see what my players are doing. Like, oh, Odell's getting a 99-yard touchdown. Heck yes. Like, I don't care about the score of the game. I don't care about anything. And so I'm gonna segue us into our next point with this because I think this is actually a really important point. So, going to the Overwatch League 2020 season, you're eliminating stages. So, we're going to get into this a lot, I think, with the time we have left. We might go over tonight, folks. Sorry.
We might as well.
But, so when you eliminate stages, that does a few things. What you're doing is you're taking away these kind of needless tournaments at the end, intermittently throughout the season, which is a good thing. What you're also doing, though, and this is a fact, I think, is that the most exciting games this season have been the stage playoff games. I mean, this last stage playoffs with Shanghai making the run was electric. I mean, it was so hyped. It was way more hyped.
There were stakes.
Yes, there were stakes. It was way more hyped than any regular season game. And that's because the regular season games, there's no stakes, and we're just watching for the result. Plus, it's been GOATs. I get it. But a lot of factors there. So when you take away stage playoffs next season, you're going all regular season till a middle season and then till the end. But if you have fantasy, which we'll segue out of fantasy with this conversation. If you have fantasy, it's less about the results of the matches and more about how your players are doing. So it doesn't really matter if there are a bunch of 4-0 sweeps and unexciting games. It's just like I have my players and I'm invested in the players, and that's really all that matters. And I think that's actually a pretty fundamental point is if we can get people away from just caring about good games and, sports are going in a player pro-centric direction right now. The NBA is leading the charge in this. It's going to be the next sport in America. It already is. And it's because it is superstar focused. The Overwatch League needs a fantasy app to help cater that, to promote the players, get your, poster children out in front of the world, get Jake and everything you can get him in, get Space, all these players, Jonak, whatever. Make a fantasy app so people can be invested in the players, know their names like you were saying, Zach. Unfortunately, those of us in the West just don't know a lot of the Korean players who are like on smaller teams. We don't know their names. The fantasy app could really help with that, and smaller teams players. So as we transition to 2020 and we lose stages, I think it's actually a very important thing. That
makes home and away games more important too.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. With that, let's jump into 2020 stuff really quick, and let's just talk about. We can talk about a myriad of different things, but the 2020 changes that are happening. Teams are hosting homestands, anywhere from 2 to 5 homestands each team will host. So Washington, Guangzhou, and Dallas are the 3 teams that are hosting 5, the maximum number. and everyone else will host somewhere between 2 and 5. Most teams subsequently hosting 2, just because of the way the numbers work out. So that's the biggest major change. We'll have bye weeks intermittently throughout the season for flight time to get people from event to event. We'll do kind of like West Coast. They're calling them Northern for like Canada, and then East, which I think they're just calling Europe and Asia, kind of all together. We're eliminating stages entirely, and we are creating divisions. 4 divisions within the 2 conferences. So you have 5 teams in each of the 4 divisions and 2 conferences. So there are a lot of just like structural changes that are happening. We're still playing Overwatch. We're still playing in the 2-2-2 lock. Nothing about that is changing. But it is taking away things that have been foundational to the league so far. We're talking about stages. Let's go ahead and just talk about that first. I've heard some back and forth arguments on Twitter. One of them pretty passionately was against the taking away of stages. This is not how I don't know if any of us think this way, but I'll present the argument nonetheless, is that the most exciting games of the season have been stage playoffs, and you're taking those away. Now people are not, they're going to watch the regular season even less, is the theory, and will just watch playoffs because there are just no stakes in any of the games. They're not exciting. That is that argument, basically.
Okay, let's be real here. You're not a true fan if you don't watch through the season. First off, I'm sorry. That is the truth. You are a bandwagon fan, and yes, there are plenty of those in the Overwatch League. There's no doubt. You can see it. But I'm going to tell you one really freaking important fact. This game has still had 80,000 fans with a shit meta, with shit storylines, and with no shit going on. And it has driven Overwatch still into the top 10 of almost every single Twitch month. U-wise, okay? So there are a lot of passionate people out there who are going to watch this shit no matter what, okay? So if you're if you're going to tell me that, oh, it's only 80,000 fans, well, go look at every other esport, okay? and just get out of here. Like, I don't want to hear it. My second thing is those playoff games, while fun, who cares? They don't matter. They don't matter. If they mattered for the end of the season, like
they locked you a playoff spot or something.
Yeah, like this isn't a tournament-based game. This is not CS:GO, where every tournament matters. That helps you get into Worlds or something, right? Or some sort of thing. Like, I know the teams get extra money. They're gonna find another way to give them money. They're not gonna just be like, oh, here's $500,000 that teams just
increase the purse prize at the end of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Like, listen, you can make any argument you want for stages. I've never liked them. I think they are really dumb. They don't matter. Shanghai won it. That's awesome. I'm so excited for them. But guess what? When it comes down to the end of the year, where did they finish? Oh, if they lose every single game, are they still going to be in the bottom 5 of the entire league? Yeah, they are. Yeah. They go 0-7. They're still going to be a bottom 5 team.
Yep.
But they won Stage 3 playoffs.
Well, where'd that get them?
Garbage, so who gives a shit? Like, nobody cares.
Yeah, that's fair.
To be honest, it just doesn't matter to me. And if your argument is it's not as exciting, then why are you watching in the first place?
Yeah.
Like, every game matters. Every single game matters. If you're a true fan, and I think this is what's going to fundamentally change. I think everybody has been so hunky-dory about every team and every storyline. What you have to do is you got to get invested into your one team. And then every single game really does matter.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to follow those storylines, right? You're going to be like, if you're a Shanghai Dragons fan, right, you're going to be like, hey, like, we got a 28-game season. And if we don't go at least 14-14, we're not making the playoffs, right? Yeah. So if you lose 3 games in a row, well, shit, that matters, right? And you're not, and these teams aren't going to have a break realistically. To like as long of a break necessarily to make the changes necessary anymore, right? And if you're really that upset about stages, if you're really that upset, there's still a middle of the season all-star game, which is also worthless. It doesn't matter. But guess what? You're going to get your thing that's fun, and it's going to break up the season and make it more interesting still. And you can treat it like stages. I don't care.
And they've even talked about a mid-season tournament as well, where they're like, they try and incentivize playing hard in the midseason, but I think it's going to be hard to get teams to really try if there's not a huge purse at the end of it, like if it doesn't matter. So I've heard arguments, and I think they've actually explicitly said there might be some kind of mid-season tournament, but like I said, unless there's stakes, no one's going to care. and they'll meme and it'll turn into like arcade mode. So
yeah, I don't know. I think having it as a season format, if you're gonna break off from the traditional esports scene of tournament, big tournament, and you're gonna go to a league style to try and kind of mix this mash of traditional sports and esports, like it just makes sense. It's going to reward the good teams for being good and punish the bad teams for being bad. Like a team that has a hot run in the middle of the season, yeah, that's going to be great for them, and you'll see them rise, and that's going to be exciting. But they still have that chance of going down. I mean, I compare it to, I mean, you look at how soccer does it, where you've just got, it's exciting and you watch each game with excitement because it's like, oh, this is how much the table can change. This is where this person's spot is now. Here's like, and you know of like, oh, here are the top 6 teams and they're going to be fighting for that. It's rewarding the good teams for the way that they're playing. And I really think that I can't believe I'm about to say this, but should take a page from Major League Soccer. And the way that the way I know,
bring Zlatan in, basically, yeah,
pretty much. No, I think what they need to do is, if they're going to have this season long and then a playoff bracket,
yes,
make the season matter by giving what they do is they call the community shield. The team that wins the most games and has the best record still gets a trophy. Like, they're not just, oh, you get a bye week and home field advantage, like that's all you get. I think if you take that, it incentivizes teams who's like, oh, we've already made playoffs, we don't need to push. Like, no, like you're gonna push because you can win a trophy, or if it's not about the trophy in esports, it's about an extra pocket. It's like, if you secure first place, here's a guaranteed amount of cash for just the regular season, and then still have that playoff bracket. That's super exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that would be I think that's, again, huge. I think for me, the way I see it is that, with the home games and the home stands and the traveling, I think with that, there's going to be enough hype and excitement to where people aren't going to miss stages. There's going to be so much happening. The teams are going to be moving. I'm hoping the teams are more involved with their branding of those things, like the teams on the road. Like, let's make a docu-series of our trip to Asia, trip to Europe. So I think there'll be a lot more PR opportunities for teams to better brand the players, and there'll just naturally be more exposure. I mean, Guangzhou having 5 homestands, that team has arguably the biggest fan base of any team in the league, and it's going to blow up when they go over there. And those players are gonna have a whole new level of celebrity in China, and it's going to be just shell shocking. I think if Guangzhou plays at the Shanghai and Chengdu homesteads, the Guangzhou fans will pack it out more than the Shanghai or Hangzhou fans. Yeah. I think it could be that volatile, which is awesome.
It's also less pressure on these players who, in a league where burnout is talked about so much, getting rid of these stage playoffs and adding travel that takes away from their scrim time and can just be generally uncomfortable because you're going to have to fly all the way to China, all the way to London, all the way to Paris, all the way to Florida.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to at least help alleviate the burnout.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, it's going to give them short breaks. That's a real break, right? Like, yeah, it's travel, but so what? You get to go to China. You get to go to London. You get to go to Paris. You get to go all over the United States. Like, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think my point right before this of home games and away games mattering it's going to be paramount. It is going to be absolutely, I think, 222, all the 2020 news. Like, I get that these homestands, they're calling them homestands, but in all reality, it's home and away games.
Home and away games. It's just,
It's home and away games. Like, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Dude, the fact that teams have 5 and other teams have 2.
That's gonna be big.
Big advantage.
It's gonna be interesting to see if the teams that have 5 statistically do better in front of their home crowd enough that teams are gonna opt for an extra homestand, or in the 4th season be like, no, we want every single game that we can.
It's gonna have to be even. It's gonna have to be even. I think the only thing that they're doing is I think they're giving 5 to the teams that they know are gonna have a better chance of backing out. Like,
they vied for the spots basically.
Yeah. I can guarantee you Florida gets 2.
Oh, no doubt.
If they get more than 2, it's going to be because the schedule made them get more than 2.
Because all the Atlanta fans already have 5 and they want another one to go to.
I can't check that right now. I have that information, but never mind.
Did they give it?
No.
Connor got the
but
juice.
but
He's saying no. He's saying
no.
This man has the juice.
No, I think you're right. So I think the Jacob Wolf said on ESPN the other day, and we talked about this, Rob, is that he's worried that the cities he thinks like 2 or 3 cities are going to do well next season because teams haven't activated their local markets enough.
United States.
In the United States, he mentioned like Chicago, Dallas, and New York.
Chicago, we don't have a team yet. But
Or
we're
Atlanta. I
passionate.
said Atlanta. I meant to say Atlanta. Whoops. Sorry. I don't know. It slipped because I want a Chicago team though, really badly.
Please,
So,
everybody
for what it's worth.
please.
But I think that's
Anything
true.
Midwest.
I think it's true to an extent. I think he's on to something. I don't think it's quite as severe as he's making it. I think teams with I think Florida and Boston and maybe some of the California teams will struggle with their homestands. I just think they will. I think that New York has made a brand and has been incredible at getting their home city stuff ready. Washington, I think, has been even better than them. I think, Atlanta's going to be good. I mean, they had a homestand this year. They were an expansion team and pulled it off. Like, it was awesome. And Atlanta's just a good hub. Dallas is going to be great. I think Houston should be fine because the Outlaws have so many fans. It is far down there, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. The major airport, you can get there easily.
True.
I think most teams are going to be fine. That's the point I'm trying to make, because I don't think it's going to be this like epidemic issue, especially the first season. People have been waiting and chomping at the bit to get their team home for 2 seasons. They're going to go to the games, especially if they only have 2 weekends to do it. Like, they're going to go to all of them. So yeah.
I think the teams that are going to struggle the most. This is going to be crazy. It's definitely going to be Florida. And I think you mentioned it, but only glossed over. I think LA. I think LA is so just jaded by esports because it's only been there, and everything has been there.
It's oversaturated.
Yeah, I think it's the only place in the world where it is oversaturated. By the way, but I think if you're seriously going to tell me all the Chinese teams are going to sell out almost every game, at least for the first couple of times.
Yeah,
Seoul's going to sell out.
Yep,
absolutely. If Vancouver is that confident in going to the Rogers Center and opening up all 18,000 seats, that will by far and away be the biggest stadium in the Overwatch League.
They got balls for saying that. I think that them saying that is both a motivator to themselves, their fans, and teams across the league to be like, look, we're stating this goal. We're going to open them all up. Yeah, it might not pay off, but like, at least we were bold enough to say, hey, we're going to open the whole thing. Let's see how many we can fit.
Yeah.
And it's better to have too many than too less. And to be fair, that would only be the 3rd team in Vancouver, in a city that is desperate for more stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you look at teams like, again, to compare it to soccer, you've got Atlanta United, who were pulling more people than the Falcons, pulling more people than the Braves. They're only 3-4 years old. They've already won the MLS Cup. They filled Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I was there. There was every single seat was taken, and they barely gave anything to the away section, which as a fan of the away team that went to play, I was a little upset about. But like, they packed that
how good they're doing.
They were a 3-year-old team.
Yeah, I think it could have been a variety of different things. From the reports I've gathered, the teams it's been all on the teams to figure out where they're staying. The league has had no control over it. I could have seen, so that could lead to one of a few things. It could be that the Rogers Arena was the only thing available in Vancouver. It could be that it's the one that just actually worked the best. Or it could have been the league saying, like, hey, you're the Titans. You guys have done incredibly well this year. Go for a bigger arena. Let's have 1 or 2 teams test out what a bigger arena does. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't have to be your permanent home. The only team that's expressed a permanent home is Philly. And it's not going to be ready for a couple years. And so,
it's going to be 2021.
Like, Washington has even said, like, we have no plans to build. Like, we're going to use these 2 arenas and split them up, and if we like one better, we'll use it.
One of them is literally
perfect. The one that's, they're both honestly really good. But,
I think one of the biggest questions, though, to watch out for is broadcasting. I mean, the actual how the broadcast runs. You've got how all those qualifiers from the Overwatch World Cup, and I mean, not to knock on Thailand, but like, there was some production issues. There were some problems with some of the broadcasts.
Yep.
And so you're now coordinating 20 different teams in a little bit less cities, but like still like that's are they bringing the entire Overwatch League crew there every week? Are they going to have to hire specific ones in that city? Are teams going to be responsible for finding that?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be one of the biggest questions and things to watch out for, because that could drive away fans too.
So I've reached out to several broadcast people about this, and no one can say anything yet because they don't know. I think they would tell me if they knew, but people actually have no idea what's going to happen in that realm of it. What I would suspect is going to happen is you're going to see several crews get bumped up from T2. So Jaws and Leg Day will be in the Overwatch League. Avast and ZP will be in the Overwatch League. I could see a lot of people in that scene. Lafon, like Lemon Kiwi, a ton of people in contenders are going to get in. But what they're going to do is they're going to travel with, like, if there's big games at X Arena and it's on prime time, we're going to take Mitch and Matt, Uber and X, and we're going to take Monty and Doa. And that team's going to cover that whole weekend. And you'll have 2 teams covering all, and you'll have teams moving around. But they'll need more than they have 4 teams right now. I think they're going to need more than 4 teams to do it. I think they'll need like 6. And then you could have like 3 teams, or you could have 2-2-2 and like rotating around constantly.
2-2-2 roll lock.
Hey, it would really.
I think that's why they brought in 4. I think they wanted them to have 4 teams for next year to be ready.
Yeah,
it
could be.
Dude, I think they've been paying attention to Tier 2, because here's the thing. It's going to open up more spots for Tier 2 as well. Like, there is an absolute reason why Toronto named their team the Montreal Rebellion. I'm telling you right now, people, Toronto is big brain thinking way ahead, because they know, like in traditional sports, if you're going to have academy teams, attaching them to cities is the best way, and that's going to create even more broadcast.
Why not activate another market?
Yeah.
I'm just
totally.
Oh, there's so many great things.
Yep. So we could easily, I think, keep going for a long time. We've covered a lot of the stuff. I think we can spare getting into divisions too much. I think it's a good change. I think everyone is going to agree it's going to be a good change.
It sucks. It doesn't matter. So
yeah, and there's going to be some really bad divisions and good divisions, but hey, I mean that's
rip
life.
Dallas.
That's sports. Yeah, rip a lot of stuff.
That whole, dude, I think it's
that division is insanely stacked, like the Central in NHL.
And it is right now, but let's not forget, like the Browns were considered the crappiest team in their NFL division, and now they are one of the most threatening teams in their division. And so, I mean, teams are going to ebb and flow,
That's what we want, though. The division, it separates it, so you don't have... Sorry, we're already going on, so I don't really care. We're 15 minutes over. The divisions are so paramount to rivalries, because instead of you having to try to be a rival of, 1 team versus 10...
Yeah.
It's 1 team versus 5 now. Like, that's so huge.
Yeah,
it's going to really build. I think one of my early pieces on Overwatch League, like probably one of the first ones that I put out, was about rivalries and how kind of the only ones we really had were the LA one, because like as much as they did lean into it and in a sense manufacture it, like it's hard not to have a rivalry when you're playing the same team. Like even if you look at baseball, Chicago, you've got the Cubs and the Sox. Like they may not be playing each other all the time, but like you bet when those 2 teams are playing each other, they're packing out Wrigley Field and whatever it is, and I think guaranteed rate, I don't know. But I should know this as a White Sox fan. But but like it's a natural rivalry, and you can't have rivalries in the first season of a league. You can maybe start to have them in the second. But having these divisions of having these close knit, like these are the people we're really competing against. That's going to drive it up. You've got all 3 California teams even like, we're the top California team. No, we're the top California. So
yeah, I agree.
It's integral in the formation of rivalry.
They tried to adapt them and build them up more in the homestands this year. Like that's why you had Florida go to the Atlanta homestand, is like because you want to build up Florida, Atlanta. They're close to each other. It's a regional thing. I think Rob's right though. I think divisions are going to do that in an actual real way. And I mean there's supposed to be regional divisions for a reason. I think in the future, hopefully, we'll just have like a Europe division. So you'll have like hopefully in the future Berlin, Copenhagen, Paris, London, all these kinds of teams. Stockholm,
Rome.
yeah. So I think that there's a lot of potential for divisions. It had to happen eventually. If you take away, the conferences are already kind of goofy. I think you have to have them, but I mean, I think divisions are a necessary part of that.
Maybe they'll actually start meaning something instead of the top Atlantic, the top Pacific, and then just the best of the rest.
Yeah.
That's what it is right now.
That's what I was gonna say. We have yet to figure out what the playoffs are going to mean next year, but it could be division, and then wild card from the next best team. I would.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So that makes it so much better because a team like Washington
NFL,
could literally go from nothing to actually making the playoffs just because their division's terrible this year.
Yeah.
God, there's so many good conversations.
Which brings up Cinderella stories. It brings up underdogs. It brings up who got robbed. It brings up
more
I can't
narratives.
believe X team didn't make. It's just
Brings up more narratives.
it gets more people talking, and as someone who writes about the Overwatch League, gives us more things to write about.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Sorry.
No, you're good. We're going over. I think we go ahead and segue to our last segment we usually close the show with. Like I said, this was going to be a show that went long because of all the stuff that's happened. We haven't done any of it fully any kind of justice. We'd have to do an individual show for each event to really get into it enough. So hopefully the crew on Thursday will take a lot of this stuff up as well. We want to close out the show, though. We do our WatchHaus Words of Wisdom each week. We've described this and tokened it as open mic night at the bar. You get up to the stage. What do you want to say to the people? You can say something philosophical. You can say whatever you want. I can go ahead and start us off. We talked about this. Zach, you were on with John Galt, and we talked about the international nature of Overwatch. And I just want to kind of harken back to that. I think that we are getting closer to actualizing that vision. For me, the perfect vision of what Overwatch is Overwatch is a game of characters representing all nationalities. And at the Overwatch League level, it's a league of professional players from all nationalities, from all over the world, playing all over the world. I think all of this is finally going to be happening, which is so incredibly exciting to me. I think Overwatch is going to come to its fullness when we go international next season. I hope that more international players continue to get signed from smaller countries, smaller contenders divisions get more represented, all that good stuff. But even still, I think as it is right now, it's going to just fulfill a lot of what Overwatch I think was meant to be, and it just fits in with the game itself really, really well. So, I'm really excited for it. I hope that when we go play in Paris, I hope they do a big highlight about the Paris map, or there's Paris map themed stuff in Paris. Use the game to build your local brand because the game has every local brand in it. And I hope the game continues to build local brands based on the cities we have in the Overwatch League. I'd love a Guangzhou, a Chengdu, a Shanghai map. You have the teams in the Overwatch League. Let's make some maps for those teams. Again, that's just I could go on this for a long time, but I think I'm excited for that happening. Whichever you guys want to go next, it's open mic, so you guys just go for it.
I give it to you, Zach. Unless you want to shut it down.
No, I got this. Overwatch is cool. Let's just have some fun playing Overwatch, y'all. Stop complaining about all the nitty gritty. Could go wrong and probably will go wrong. These are professionals getting paid tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what they do best. Let them play the game and let them have fun.
Word.
Mine is go play TFT. Joking. Completely.
Nice.
Totally joking. You definitely need to go play Overwatch. I know I'm gonna go pick it back up. I'm pretty excited. And to semi-piggyback off of Zach, it's good to be critical. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's good to be critical. It's better to be constructive. Those are my words of wisdom for the Overwatch people out there. I think that we have to start working together to make this. Let's stop wanting to see this fail. That is the thing that pisses me off more than any... Excuse me, I'm going to...
Here he goes.
I wanted to drop an F-bomb really bad.
I don't have a bleep button available. I'm not an advanced streamer. I can't.
It is a bleeping shame that every single esports person in the world wants their sport to seemingly die, whereas every sports person is fighting for their sport to live and be the number one. We have to stop doing that. And I'm not saying we need peace and harmony in the world of esports. Like, that's bullshit. It's okay. You don't have to like an esport, right? But, like, if you are a legitimate fan, complain, do what you got to do. But we need to see this succeed. We all do. Otherwise, guess what? Your game that you like, that you complain and bitch and moan so much about, will no longer exist.
Mm-hmm.
It just won't. It will cease to exist. They will stop updating it, and then your complaints will have literally killed it. So let's be positive. Let's push this forward. Let's be critical where we need to be, and let's be constructive where we need to be. Those are my words of wisdom for all you people out there.
He is the Lorax, and he speaks for the trees.
This was good stuff. I think that these conversations that we had tonight are conversations that are going to continue to happen across the league. We would love to be a part of more of those with you guys. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit up TJG Sports on Twitter. Just tag us, whatever. That's where a lot of the conversations happen. Reddit, if you must. We will definitely do as much as we can to talk to you guys. This is stuff that is important. It's like Rob said, we shouldn't be talking about it as if we want it to fail. But we should be talking about it. You know, the community showing that it cares is a good sign of a flourishing esport. If we're being constructive and not just criticizing for no reason. So I think that is a good kind of final word for us. You know, we have we have a whole list of shows. Someone in the chat was asking for if you guys have a league podcast. We do have LCS Weekly, which is also on Thursdays. Also on Thursdays, we have a Overwatch League betting podcast. We have another episode of WatchHaus that we do that previews the next week rather than recaps what we traditionally do here.
Is this week too? I believe that this is their on week, so
yeah,
I think they're on Wednesday as well.
Yeah. So the point is, we have so much content here. If you enjoyed the show, thank you for sticking along with us live. We also put all our episodes on YouTube. That's pretty standard. I don't think I have any other housekeeping things though. So again, thanks so much to my co-hosts. This was a great discussion tonight, guys. Rob and Zach, thank you for being on here, participating in this. Stay tuned for our news and for the Overwatch's news. There's going to be more that drops with Sigma very soon. We'll cover all of it. We'll be talking about it. And from our house to yours, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you next time.